asked you to come today to interview these two lovely artists and also be translating in the middle, so there's a little bit of a pause in between my emceeing of these understandings. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first we have Serena Bocchino, and we also have Mr. Yoo Choong Mok as well. These are two artists that are being displayed right now in the gallery in Peace Space. And so we'd like to just talk a little bit about kind of where they came from as artists and also why they do art as well. Should we get started?
Okay.
Great. Serena, I want to ask you a little bit about your artistic journey, first of all. Can you tell us about a little bit of your early stages of your artistic journey, and also like when did you first know that art would be like your path of your life?
Okay. Is this on? We're going to hear it. I just also want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank God, I want to thank the Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. And I want to thank Jean for the exhibition and a beautiful curatorial presentation here, and Sunny and Karen and the whole AP Space staff. I grew up in a very creative home. My mother was an artist, her mom was an artist. We always had classical music and opera playing in the home. My mom also challenged us all the time with wonderful colors or artwork. We had different artists visit our home, and it was always a very creative environment. So being an artist or just a child that was making things all the time with my 5 siblings was actually very organic and very natural. Like it wasn't separate from anything, it was just we're making things. So that's what we did.
Thank you. Were there any defining moments where you spoke a little bit about your family, but people or places that significantly shaped like your development as an artist?
Sure. So as an artist and the child of an artist, I was always exposed to art history, different people. I have to say, as I got older, my teachers, a very famous colorist, Roy Fangor, I think is really the fundamental part of my understanding about color and how to use it, how to make it very personal. He's a Polish artist and just wonderful mentor. And I have to say another light artist, Ari Gallus, is another one. And I eventually actually worked for Susan Rothenberg and Pat Steer, who are wonderful artists, as you know. Of course, Susan isn't with us any longer, but working for them as a studio assistant and being very intimate within their studio practice allowed me access to understanding what it really is like to be an artist, particularly in New York, which is a unique place to be and to have the opportunity and the privilege to show here. Because to show in New York is very special. In the traveling that I've done internationally, New York is quite unique, and I'm thankful to be here today and to have had quite a few exhibitions in my life here. I'm trying to think of other, I think the defining moment in becoming an artist was very much about when I was very young. My mom would submit things to different competitions, so of course the encouragement of winning them or being part of something or being a finalist constantly since I was very young was very encouraging. And that went into my 20s with having exhibitions in different places, being one of the youngest artists actually at PS1, and different residencies and participating with other artists that I love.
Thank you. And now I'll kind of bring it over to Mr. Yoo as well. If you could speak a little bit about what led you to pursue a career in art, and how did your practice evolve from sculpting to painting?
제가 이제 고등학교 때부터 조각을 전공했었고요. 그리고 계속 조각 입체 작업을 계속 해오다가 5년 전에 한국에 있는 가나 갤러리에 있는 레지던시에 가서 거기서 이제 많은 회화 작가들하고 같이 작업을 하다가 제 작업을, 입체적인 작업을 좀 더 평면으로 다시 한번 이제 표현하겠다 해서 이제 작업을 했습니다.
So he says that he studied sculpture when he was in high school, and he worked as a sculptor for a long time. And about 5 years ago, he started his residency at a famous art gallery or museum in Korea called Ghana. And since then, he was working with a lot of artists in two-dimensional spaces. So he started to figure out how he could utilize or share the same kind of message and emotions from a three-dimensional space to a two-dimensional platform. And after majoring in sculpture and kind of working with glass and integrated design, was there a specific moment or an event that led you to fully embrace this art style of painting?
우리와 일반 디자인 작업은 이제 지금의 작업들과 미래의 작업들을 이제 하기 위한 준비 과정입니다.
So his process of studying regarding glass during his time after university kind of became the preparation and the preparing moments for him to be able to make this kind of artwork today. Serena, back to you. So if you were to speak a little bit about your inspiration and influences, we'd love to hear what currently inspires your work and how kind of those sources of inspiration have evolved over time. Like, were there any artists or musicians or writers who have kind of influenced your visual language? And also, how do elements like music, rhythm, or movement manifest in your artwork?
Okay. Let's see. Interesting. I began actually as a realist painter. I learned about color and painting actually using oil paint and reflecting what I saw in life and people to begin my work. After a while, my original images were actually musical instruments from the Renaissance. So it would be more of a dramatic, theatrical painting, like a piano on a stage or something that I'd be painting. And then after you start painting like that, those of you who are artists who have made art, after doing hundreds of paintings, hundreds of drawings, you begin to sort of start your own visual language. Well, that's what happened to me. So the work went from very realistic to over many years, 10 years or so, into abstraction. I did a whole series actually on the saxophone. And those were paintings that I did create during my time at PS1 in Long Island City. And what was interesting about PS1 was there were a lot of materials around when I was there. Lots of things that was thrown away, different distressed wood and wires and things. So I started creating sculpture that was reflective of what I was painting. So I actually do abstracted saxophones. As you create them more and more, they become more about shapes and lines and the way the brush moves. And then it started growing after that time at PS1 residency into what it sounded like. So I became very immersed in what does the saxophone sound like? And the work became more about the sound than the image of the instrument. And as you can see today, I'm working more about the sound. So when I pour paint, that was a big thing that happened as well. So I was going from being an oil painter, quite traditional actually, to a where the materials and the process began to change, and I became very much interested in how can I create a line that would capture every sound that the saxophone would make. And of course, as you can see today, it's not only about the saxophone, it's about a lot of different musical instruments and sounds that I hear, particularly jazz music or classical music. And if in fact you've seen the film downstairs, that also gives a very clear description. And we talk a lot about Charles Mingus. When I was working for Susan Rothenberg, I actually met Sue Mingus, his wife, and we go see the Charles Mingus Dynasty Band. I don't know if you came with us, but, and we just go as a group and hang out with other musicians. So it had a huge impact on what I was doing. I also began working for a wonderful patron of the arts. His name is Morris Goldie. And he knew all the classical musicians, I think, in New York, and the different poets, from John Ash to Bernstein. And I was able to meet them, which was amazing. I mean, I was so young meeting these, like, art stars or whatever. But so what happened was the music became critical. And the more exposed I was to it, the more impactful it became. And as I had these opportunities, I have a sketchbook with me, because it would be hours of music. We'd go to these marathon sessions at Carnegie Hall or whatever, and these incredible musicians would play. And so I'd start drawing what I heard. And so the synesthesia that I mentioned in the film downstairs, which is one sensory impacting another, for me, it's I hear to what I see became very apparent, and I was able to reflect that in my work. So, I don't know. I think
no, that's perfect. Back to this with you. I want to speak a little bit regarding the core materials and the medium that you use, because it's such a very an interesting kind of medium that you don't really see a lot in the art world today. But the use of glass beads in your work is very visually striking, as you can see in some of the pieces around us. Could you share the meaning or the symbolism that they hold?
유리 구슬이 의미하는 것은 이제 저의 심장입니다. 빛을 모으고 그리고 반사하고 또 그 기억을 굴절시켜서 새로운 감각으로 강조주는 장치, 그리고 이제 당신은 만약에 그 안을 들여다보게 되면 이제 나뿐만 아니라 당신 자신도 들여다볼 수 있습니다.
So he says that the glass beads are like his hearts. They are able to take in light. They can also reflect light. Also, you'll be able to see your memories through these glass beads as well. When you look at this artwork through the glass beads, you will not only see me and myself, but you'll also be able to reflect on yourself as a person as well. What inspired you to combine kind of glass with fabric and the two materials with such contrasting physical qualities?
유리와 이제 천을 같이 사용하게 된 이유는 시각적 온도를 이용할 수 있고요. 유리는 차갑고 천은 따뜻하고, 그게 이제 제가 이론에서 배운 콜라보의 정의라고 생각합니다.
So I think it's about visual temperature. When you look at the glass, it gives off a colder visual temperature, whereas in the fabric it shows a little bit more of a warm temperature visually. And so I learned this a lot when I was studying as well, but it's kind of the harmony between two different mediums.
그래서 그 콜라보레이션의 사전적 의미는 서로 다른 것들이 만나서 새로운 힘을 만드는 것입니다.
And I believe the meaning behind this collaboration between two different mediums is that these very different mediums are able to come together and create a new kind of beauty for them. Great, thank you. Serena, back to you. So many papers, I'm sorry. A little bit about like your artistic philosophy. So how would you describe your philosophy regarding art?
Wow. Okay. Well, I think my work is very much about what is beautiful and activating space. I think that what interests me in the process certainly is I like to have a dynamic activity happening on the canvas. And then, of course, I have what I'm interested in, the sounds that I'm hearing, and how it's able to be translated on the canvas. And that also led me to doing sculpture, because to me it very organically comes right off the canvas into a three-dimensional space. But actually, I'm very happy to have a strictly painting exhibition here at Big P Space, because I haven't had that in a while, and it's kind of very interesting for me to kind of look how it's working as just painting. But whenever I look at my paintings, I kind of see the three-dimensionality to them, which is interesting for me to detail. In philosophy of art and what is aesthetic, what is beautiful, I have to say I do believe that painting or art in general, all the arts, change people's lives. And I think that's what draws us to art. I think in terms of dance, poetry, certainly visual art, all types of it, it changes people. So it brings people sometimes closer to the truth, and you don't need words about it. And I think that's why people go to galleries and museums, they go to concerts. We don't want to really talk about it so much, but we want to experience it. And so I feel very connected with hoping that happens with my work, and I'm sure Mr. Yoo will agree with me. We want to have people come here and leave maybe thinking about something different. Maybe thinking about that piece when they're about to sleep or wake up. And these are the things that you're hoping to do with artwork. When you're making it, it changes you, and when you're looking at it, it changes you. It also can heal. I've experienced many things with children and older adults that just working with the materials has some sort of change within each person that does do that. So these are on different fundamental levels, of course, from very basic to hopefully very ethereal and on the philosophical level.
Great, thank you. And one more thing regarding from Ms. Yoo regarding I guess the fabric or the mediums that you use. You've chosen something that's very special in the Korean culture. It's called Chun. It's basically a traditional yellow cloth as your main canvas. Could you tell us a little bit about the significance of this yellow tone and why you were drawn to this specific material?
한국에서는 그 황새 풍년을 의미합니다. 그리고 또 불을 의미합니다. 시각적으로는 이제 따뜻하고 풍요롭게 그 황새, 그 가운데 있는 황새이 이제 가운데 중심을 의미하고 있습니다. 그리고 이유는 이제 동양인이 이제 그 한국인의 피부색하고 이 천이 너무 비슷해가지고 시각적으로 또 많은 피부색의 비율을 차지하고 있어서 이 황색을 쓰고 있습니다.
So when you look at Korean traditional coloring as well, the color yellow plays a very significant role in that, in the color space. So we believe the Korean culture believes that the color yellow kind of is, it shows center, or it shows kind of coming into the middle, and it also shows a lot of warmth. And that's a lot of the reason why I also chose it. At the same time, the color yellow also is significant to the skin tone of how Asian people are supposedly shown. And so seeing the skin tone of the people of Asia as well, and you're able to kind of draw out the beauties of this kind of yellow tone canvas as well. You mentioned a little bit about the use of obangsik as well, the 5 traditional Korean colors. How do you interpret the meanings of these colors in artistic language?
오방색이라는 거는 이제 5가지의 방위를 상징하는 색이고요.
So obangsik means it's basically the 5 traditional Korean colors, but it also symbolizes 5 different directions.
청색은 동쪽을 의미하고요.
So the color blue shows the eastward direction.
물과 나무를 의미하고요.
It also signifies, So it also signifies springtime and the tree as well.
새로운 시작과 성장을 또 의미합니다.
And it also shows a new start and also the maturing of someone too.
그리고 적색, red가 이제 남쪽을 뜻하고요.
And red symbolizes the south.
네, 그리고 이제 여름과 불을 의미하고요.
It symbolizes summertime and also fire.
생명력과 에너지를 상징하고,
and it shows life and energy.
열정과 힘의 색이라고 알고 있습니다.
And is the color of power and strength.
그리고 백색이 의미하는 것은 서쪽을 의미하고요.
And also the color white symbolizes west.
가을,
It symbolizes autumn, like the season of autumn.
그리고 이제 순수와 정결.
And also shows the humility of somebody as well.
네, 그리고 종교적으로 이제 경건함을 의미합니다. 그리고 이제 흑색, black,
The color black.
네, 북쪽과 겨울을 의미하고요.
It symbolizes winter time and also the north.
네, 깊고 차분하고 안정감을 줍니다.
And it shows the depth and also the peace and the calm through it as well.
네, 그리고 황색, 옐로우는 이제 그 중앙과 흙을 상징합니다.
And yellow, the color yellow shows the center. Directionally, it shows the center, and it also symbolizes dirt and the ground.
네, 모든 색의 중심이기 때문에 균형과 평화를 상징하고 있습니다.
And because it is the centerpiece of all these other colors, it symbolizes calmness and tranquility. Thank you. Back to you, Serena. If we were to talk a little bit about your kind of your creative process and the medium that you kind of go through, could you process from the initial concepts to the final execution. And also, your work often features vibrant colors and dynamic forms. What guides your choices in the palette and also the shape?
Okay. So, well, what's interesting, I think, certainly is that the work is inspired by music. So it's very much about different musical, let's say, concerts or things I listen to in my studio. I use oil paint and enamel paint. Originally what was happening was I was using a lot of oil paint, but I was using these very unorthodox tools to create a line. Line was very important to me because I was believing that to edit every emotion and feeling and sound and rhythm of a musical piece within a line was something I challenged myself with a number of years ago. So I was actually taking pieces of wire, digging them into tubes of oil paint, sticking pencils in the tubes, cutting the tubes, squeezing it out, all different ways. Until I finally thought, well, I should try to pour the paint, because you could really bring emotion from thin to thick and a different quality of line that can really embody quite a bit of passion. So that's when I started doing that, and that was quite a long time ago, probably 25 years or more. So my studio practice uses enamel paint, canvas for the most part, paper. I do a lot of work on paper as well. I like to work on more than one painting at a time and more than one work on paper, because many times you start with one painting and you kind of stop because you can't move forward, you're not sure how to resolve the issue. So again, you could work on another canvas and maybe resolve that issue and come back to the first one. So that's how I do work on more than one piece at a time. Many times I like to be very intimate with the work, as well as you can see here, with larger canvases, larger than myself. I also use cheesecloth many times, because you got that blank canvas in front of you and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I start with cheesecloth or something to go into the painting in an abstract fashion, and then I begin to work on areas of that. I can't remember what question you had, but I guess the vibrancy of the color. Well, as you can see, actually, quite a few pieces here, very much the palette is reduced to a white and a beige and maybe a dark black, or a dark blue sometimes. So what that was, I actually set up many times challenges for myself. Every several years, I want to understand color. So I reduce my palette to not have very strong hues, and I begin to work within a very limited palette to focus more on the composition and the dynamic within that composition. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. I guess for Mr. Yoo, then, it's a little bit similar to kind of the lines that you're talking about, Serena, too, but your work features repeated motifs such as straight lines and droplet forms. What messages or emotions are you trying to convey through these types of visual elements?
그 형태는 이제 한국의 창호, 즉 내리랑 안과 바깥을 나누는 고요한 경계. 하지만 저는 이제 별이 아니라 통로라고 생각하고요. 그 과거의 생과 감정이 현재 당신을 향해 숨쉬고 미래로 이어지게 합니다라고 생각합니다.
So I believe that it's not just a wall. These paintings aren't just a wall, but instead they're a place where you can see a reflection as well. I believe that going to be able to look at these artworks, you're able to kind of not just look back at your own past, but you're able to also see and organize yourself better for the future too. Great. I guess going back to Serena as well. So I think this is really interesting personally, but you've also just completed a documentary film. What was it like to see kind of your story told through the film? And were there any kind of surprising or emotional moments during the film that, or the filming process that helped you reflect on your own journey up until now?
Okay. First I have to tell you, the filmmakers here, Richard Cooperman, and we've just become a finalist. So, yeah. Well, I was very excited to work with Richard because, first off, he's an amazing filmmaker. I've known from the past things that he has accomplished. And what I loved about working with him was we didn't know each other that well, so I was excited to see what perspective he was going to take on about my work. And he really brought in wonderful areas and perspectives of nature that I haven't seen before with my work, and so much reflected in the work. He also was able to tie in all these experts in the field of art and different, the poets and the singers and the, certainly the art critics and writers that were able, and art historians, to come to the film, and he wove them into the film to create something I hope that's visually interesting for all of you here. And another part, of course, of the film, the back, I guess, the support, the structural element of the film certainly is the music. And like I mentioned earlier, that I was able to be friendly with Sue Mingus and understand Charles Mingus's work and his process a little bit more and hear about stories about him. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him personally, but to really get to know Charles Mingus intimately through his wife and able to bring that into the film. And Richard told that story so beautifully, because we start with Charles and then we end with Sue's wonderful quote, and she understood what I was trying to do. So he really made such a beautiful film, and it's just so touching that he did such a great job. And I love, and I hope you love to see that little part of me, or a lot actually of me, in that film. And I hope that answered the question for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess kind of explain this, but like, what do you hope audiences kind of take away from watching this documentary?
Yeah, just to give them more of a glimpse of my studio practice, what inspires me, as well as actually hearing what other people are saying about my work and how they reflect, and hopefully it becomes even another reaction through everyone here in the audience.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yoo, you stated that your work centers around the concept of quote-unquote Koreanness. How do you personally define what is Korean in your work or identity?
저에게 이제 한국적이라는 것은 단순히 전통 문양이나 민속적인 이미지를 가지고 있는 게 아닙니다.
I don't think that Koreanness only specifies only one culture or being a part of one type of nationality.
그보다는 삶의 방식과 태도, 그리고 그 안에서 축적된 시간과 감각의 구조라고 생각합니다.
I think it's more so regarding the traditions and also the way in which the culture and how you were raised and how you lived your life and what you're able to take away from these processes.
제 작업 속의 직선 구조도 그 연장선 안에 있습니다.
And I believe that the way in which I create my artwork is also within that same type of learning that I received.
전통 창호나 한지의 문양 같은 것들이 기억과 감정을 얻지 않거나 정교한 틀로 변형이 됩니다.
I believe that the way in which that we were raised in all these traditions behind our culture kind of create and also make up our memories and also the way in which we think. And I also want to be able to show this, or I think my artwork is also a part of this as well.
그것이 저에게는 이제 한국적 사고 방식이라고 생각을 하는데요. 정서의 절제, 내면의 깊이를 밖으로 드러내지 않고 구조화하는 태도를 시각적으로 보여주는 방식입니다.
And I believe I'm able to show this through the actual lines and the geometry that is within each of my artworks.
또 하나는 시간을 다루는 방식이고요. 서구적인 시간은 직선적이고 진보적인 반면 한국적인 시간은 감각이 반복되고 쌓이고 돌아보는 흐름에 더 가깝습니다.
The Korean culture is able to show, or I guess my upbringing, I'm able to see a little bit more regarding the past that I've had and also be able to reflect back on the memories that I've been able to compile until now.
제 작업에서 반복적으로 등장하는 물방울이나 잉크 번짐 같은 요소들도 그런 순환적인 시간의 감각의 시간적 의미라고 보실 수 있습니다.
I believe that through these water droplets that I showed through the glass on my artworks, or also the different paints the actual colors that I show, I'm able to look back at my own memories through this as well.
제가 말하는 한국적이라는 것은 형태나 이미지 차용이 아니라 사고방식과 감정의 구조를 시각화하는 태도에 가깝습니다.
The way in which I say or describe Koreanness, I don't think that it's a specific state of mind, or I don't think it's a really a culture, or sorry, I don't think it's the way in which someone lives, but instead I think it's more so a way of life for these types of people, and I think that it's kind of created the way in which I think as well.
저는 그것을 동시대 언어로 번역해 주고 싶습니다.
And I want to show this through this medium of art.
왜냐하면 뉴욕이라는 이제 도시처럼 다중적인 감각을 가진 관객들에게도 조용하지만 말을 보는 정서가 분명히 전달될 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
So I really believe that for the people who are seeing these types of artworks in New York, I hope that even though it is a quiet language through which you can actually hear this kind of message through the artwork, I hope that everyone is able to feel it as they see the art. So, Serena, a little bit regarding your role as an artist, right? So in your view, what is the role of an artist in today's world, generally speaking? And how do you think abstract art in particular speaks to contemporary issues or the human experience overall?
Okay, so I think art, of course, like I mentioned earlier, is critical to bring us out of ourselves and to express ourselves as well. And understand, I think, as much as artists are alone in their studio creating, I think they're always conscious of what they're saying and who's going to see it eventually, or at least when it's leaving the studio. You're looking at your work in a critical manner, I think. I think editing is critical when making art. And I think an artist's role is so important, particularly today too, because you want to bring that other possibility to people. Many times you could bring hope, you could bring joy, you could bring aesthetics, you could also have political statements. I mean, it's just so far-reaching. Personally, as an individual, trying to talk about music, trying to talk about my personal experiences, you're bringing your life experiences to each piece of art, either a two-dimensional piece, three-dimensional, if you're doing an installation, you're reflective of your environment at all times. And as much as I think you need to keep humor, of course, many times the work becomes very dark, can become dark, can become so serious. But I feel it's a real privilege, like I mentioned before, to be able to be an artist, sharing my ideas, my feelings with the world, and reflecting the world in them. So it's kind of a big statement, I suppose. And I think the artist's role is critical because, like I mentioned before, it touches everyone. And either when you make it, you're going through different processes, you're growing, you're changing, you're expanding your ideas, as well as when you're looking at it, listening to it. There's all different experiences you could have, and I think without it would be terrible. I mean, I couldn't even live, I don't think. Because and I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but it's just totally part of my being, and I hope more and more people's being, by the way. I think it's great to expand the message. Everyone needs art, everyone wants art, everyone should have art in all different forms. Opera singing, dancing, poetry, the written word, visual art. It's just fantastic, and so I'm very enthusiastic, of course, about it, but I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Back to Mr. Yoo. Second to last question. So, regarding kind of your expansion and kind of the viewer, I guess, engagement, I guess would be the best way to describe it, but what is the message you hope to kind of communicate through the use of glass beads in your work?
유리구슬은 제 작업에서 그 시간 격정체 또는 감정이 입고된 흔적 같은 존재예요.
So he says that the glass piece is kind of like a stopping point in time, and it kind of shows his emotions
처음에는 단순히 물방울이 캔버스 위에 것처럼 보일 수 있고요. 네, 처음에는 단순히 물방울이 캔버스 위에 굳은 것처럼 보일 수 있고요. 하지만 저는 그걸 과거의 감정이나 기억의 시간 속에서 연결될 모습을 보고 작업을 쓰기 시작했습니다.
At first glance, you might think that these pieces of glass might look like they're just suspended water droplets. But for me, the reason why I choose this type of medium is to be able to show how, or I guess my emotions and my memories stop in time as well.
물방울이 순간의 감정이라면 유리 요술들은 그 감정이 지나간 후에도 투명하게 남아있는 것이랄까요?
So if the water droplets kind of signify the emotions that I felt during a specific time, I guess the glass is, or utilizing the glass medium is almost like being able to see into those emotions through a transparent lens.
그런데 이 유리 요술들은 반사구하고 투과구하고 즉 그것을 바라보는 사람들의 위치나 조명에 따라 전혀 다르게 보입니다.
However, these glass beads also reflect and also take in light, and no matter what kind of angle you look at it, you might see a very different way in which these glass beads reflect that light.
그 점이 저에게는 굉장히 중요했습니다. 감정이나 기억은 고정된 게 아니고 누구의 시선에 닿느냐에 따라 계속 달라질 수 있다는 걸 말합니다.
So I truly believe that emotions and memories are not things that are stable or not things that are static, but instead they kind of change depending on which person sees that, and it depends on the perspective of each person.
그래서 저는 제 작업이 관람자들에게도 그런 방식으로 다가갔습니다.
So I hope that my work can also be accepted in this way by people who are viewing it.
직선 구조 속에서 자신을 머무르던 무언가 물방울처럼 순간 떠올랐다가 사라지는 감정.
Just like water droplets, our emotions are things that come up all of a sudden and then might completely disappear in the next moment.
그리고 그 모든 것들이 굳어져 유리구슬처럼 남아있는 모습을 보면서 관람자가 자신의 기억이나 감정을 떠올렸으면 좋겠습니다.
And all of these things, they kind of become still, just like these glass beads. And I hope that people are able to see and feel their own emotions as they think about our work as well. As an artist, how do you hope to kind of your artwork connect with different viewers, and what kind of experience do you want them to have? I guess you kind of covered that a little bit. So then, sorry, I guess going on to the next question. What inspired you to kind of start this current series combining glass and fabric, and was there a specific intention or, I guess, a concept behind it? Apologize because we're translating back and forth. There's going to be a lot of these, but I guess then this would be the last question. But lastly, is there anything that you would like to share, kind of, with your audience as an artist, or also how do you see this series evolving in the future? You know, are there any kind of new materials or techniques or directions you're kind of hoping to explore?
저는 이제 한국의 시각적 정서를 좀 재료의 제한 없이 발전시키고 싶고요. 이제 한국을 상징하는 전통 재료를 좀 더 접목해가지고 가능한 좀 심플하고 좀 현대적으로 재표현하고 싶습니다.
want to be able to showcase these traditional materials that are always being used in Korea, that were being used in Korea for a long time, and kind of make them into a medium that is more modern or contemporary as well.
당신은 나를 보기 위해 온 것이 아니라 너 자신을 보기 위해 저를 거쳐가는 거다.
So what I want to say to the audience is that you're not here to look at me through these pieces, but instead you're coming to see these pieces, hopefully to see yourself.
저는 거울도 벽도 풍경도 될 수 있습니다.
I can become a mirror or a wall or whatever kind of surface that you need.
저를 정면으로만 보지 말고 그 당신의 시선이 닿는 그 방향만큼 나도 변화할 수 있습니다.
Please don't look at me. I hope that nobody looks at me in a one-dimensional sense, but instead is able to see my work through multi-dimensional, from different perspectives as well, the same way that our emotions are complex with different perspectives too. Thank you. I guess that for the last question for Serena too, I guess your kind of legacy and looking ahead, when people look at your work kind of years from now, what do you hope they'll see or kind of feel, and kind of what's next for you? Like, are there any new directions or materials that you would like to use or collaborations that you'd like to do?
Yeah, sure. I'm very excited to start exploring in a more active way collaborations with dancers, orchestras, symphonies, and quartets. This is something I'm very serious about doing. I've had some experience already with that. Fortunately, I've done a collaboration in Eastern Florida with an opera singer, 2 violinists, and a pianist, and I was able to show my work as well as work and respond to their sounds and their music. There may be something recently has come up to work with an orchestra or a symphony, which sounds very exciting for me. And those collaborations really draw me in because I do believe in that total artwork, that Gesamtkunstwerk, where it's a total artwork with dancing, with music, with visual art, all together, very theatrical. So that's something I'm excited about, and I do think that's coming in the next few years. And I think we might even be doing a dance performance here. I think Gina's putting something together, so that would be very exciting, and we'll let you know about that. And then in terms of what people see in the future would be similar to things that they would possibly see here. I hope that the work is reflective of the times, as well as continues to be somewhat timeless. I think we all think that of our work, as Mr. Yoo would probably agree with me, and that would be very exciting. I do think that's part of function of art, that you could have a piece that was made 20 years ago and still can speak to you today. Of course, we know that from art history, etc. So thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, of course, we're here for you. And thank you so much.
If there are any questions we'd like to ask the artists, we'll take them now. Very small, intimate groups, so they'll be too shy. Any questions? No? Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, the artists, both of them will be here the entire time as well, so please don't be afraid to talk to them. But thank you very much for coming, guys, and